Hi everybody, and welcome back to Sew Along with Jan and the Kimberbell Mini Quilts. This is the second video for March, and we're going to do the third and fourth block. So we're going to be doing the rainbow block and the pot of gold block, and I believe the pot of gold block is first. So we're going to be doing those two blocks in this video, and then the third video will be the assembly. Okay, so I'm looking at the pot of gold, and I needed a background piece that's this green, and I needed all of my little stripes of the rainbow. So if you don't know, if you can see this or not, there's all the little stripes of the rainbow. And I noticed that they just had them like stripe 7, stripe 6, stripe 5, and so on, but they didn't really tell you the colors. It does show you some colors in the instructions. But if you're having a little trouble deciding how the rainbow goes, it's easy to remember. It's Roy G. Biv. So I have my fabrics in Roy G. Biv. So red, orange, O is orange, Y is yellow, G is green, and then Biv is going to be blue, indigo, and violet would be the V. So I have them in that order so that they're ready to be put into the rainbow. Okay, so let's see here. And then we need some glitter vinyl. I'm going to remove that plastic cover. We need some gold embroidery leather. And then they have this new color. It's kind of cool. It's this copper embroidery leather for the base. And I think they talked about a little bit of water-soluble topping, so we'll see how that goes when we get to that point. And we're going to be doing the pot of gold first. Okay, so the pot of gold block, according to this, is 4 by 8. So it's too big for my 5 by 7 hoop, obviously. So I'll put my little blocks down here. And I've got my 9.5 by 9.5 square hoop here. So that's the one I'm going to use for this one, since it needs to be a little bit bigger than 8, because the block is 8 inches long, but then of course the embroidery design or the quilting design will be 8.5. So we need it to be a little bit bigger. So this is a 9.5 by 9.5 hoop. And we're going to get the embroidery, let's see, the embroidery design. Oh, then here's the quilting design. So it's the horizontal pebble. So let's go ahead and bring these up here so we can do this block. And let's see here. Mini quilts for March. We're going to do the quilting first. So the quilting, it says here, pebble 2, 4 by 8. Let's do pebble 2, 4 by 8 horizontal. So let's see here, 4 by 8. So here's 4 by 6. So here's 4 by 8 horizontal. So we're going to use this one, 4 by 8. So see, it's 8.5 by 4.5. So I needed to have that 9.5 inch square hoop in, and I'm going to go ahead and hit add. I don't know if you can quite see it down here. And then we're going to go get our design, which is called pot of gold. So we'll get that. Embroidery files, March, and then here it is, pot of gold. Okay, so it says to bring them in centered, so it is centered in here for us. That looks correct on the screen, so I think we're good with that. And I'm going to hit embroidery. So this one looks fun. It has all kinds of little applique pieces in it, and and it's going to have more of those stars. So I'm noticing them right away. In the last one, they were so light colored, I didn't notice them on the design. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, of course, is our quilting. And my background piece. Let me get my little pieces up here. This is my background piece this time. So this color green matches pretty well with this. So I think I'll use this for the quilting. And this is my fresh green, which is 027. So we're going to use that for the quilting on this one. Come down here, and then we'll get my thread in the needle here. Maybe if it lets go. It's got to catch on. There we go. All right, so we'll thread the fresh green in. And we're going to do, as usual, we're going to be doing our quilting first. And the first step will be the placement line for the batting. Grab my little piece of batting here. This one has all kinds of little applique pieces in it, so this will be fun. I don't think it'll be very hard though. It looks like all the pieces are pretty small. Get our placement line on here. So I hope you've been enjoying the little mini quilt videos. I've been sure enjoying doing them, and I'm happy to put them in my little frames. So this will be so much fun. This one's a cute one. All right, so I'm going to lay my batting over the placement line, and then I'm going to stitch out the tack down line for the batting, and then we'll trim. And I haven't trimmed my batting. I just have a little chunk here. Saves me a lot of time not having to cut the batting pieces too. And if you would like to do that, you sure can, but I don't like to cut very well, so I enjoy having it just little chunks because you have to trim it anyway. So, and let's see, what's the next? I think we just have quilting to do here for a minute. So I was looking at my instructions. Goes around it twice. So far, these have been really fun, easy squares. This one does have quite a little bit of applique on it, though, so it shouldn't be too hard, though. Okay, so then I'm going to trim my batting close to the stitches. Okay. Have my no-show mesh in the hoop, as that's all that I hooped was just my no-show mesh. That's how you do all of the quilting ones. Get that out of the way. So do our quilting, or trim the batting for the quilting here. I'm not being very careful, am I? All right. Okay, so there's the batting. Then the third step in the quilting is always going to be the placement line for the fabric, and I'll get my fabric ready here. And then we'll lay our fabric down. So I think this one, yeah, this one goes down on the bottom with the little clover on the bottom row, and then the other two longer ones go at the top. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get this centered as best I can. And then the fourth step of the quilting is going to be the tack down for the fabric. Oops, did it break a thread? It must have broke the thread. It did. Rethread here. Every now and then you just break a thread. I have no idea why. I'll back up a little bit. There we go. Looks like we're back in business again. It's been a beautiful day. This is a Monday in the end of January, last Monday in January. And we actually had sun today. It's been wonderful. I've had the curtains open so I can actually see the sun. I think we're all sun deprived. Okay, so that was step number 4 of the quilting, and step number 5, as usual, will be the quilting, and this is going to be the little pebbles, the little circles. So we'll do this, and then we're going to start in on the actual block. Okay, so we've got our quilting on there. I just love that that pebble design. And so, and to remind everyone from the other 2 videos, I do use Hobbs 80-20 batting. I like the Hobbs batting because it gives just a little bit more loft than some of the other project battings do, because it's not as flat. So it's not too over you know, lofty, but it just gives a little bit of extra, and it really makes these quilting designs pop. So I'm using Hobbs 80-20 scraps of batting. That's what I use for my quilting. All right, so now it's saying, we're going to start with the stripes, but it looks like to me they're in reverse order. So we're starting with stripe number 7, and it says to put a neutral thread in. So my Roy G. Biv here, you know, red, orange, yellow, green. Okay, so I'm going to turn it upside down, and we're going to start with Biv, so, or the V, so for violet. All right, and I put white thread in my needle, and I still got my embroidery thread in my bobbin. And so it says stitch. This is step number 1 of the actual design. Stitch the stripes 7 placement lines. So we're just going to do that. And I put in the white thread for the little all these little piecing bits here. So it's just going to be a little outline for us to lay this little teeny square. I think they were like 1.5 inch squares. And we're going to put it right side up. Second here, I got a kind of a tail sticking out here though. So we're going to put the violet down first for V. And let's see, it says just to lay it down. Oh, and I think we're just going to be trimming them all. So I'm just going to lay it down over that little line. And then step number 2 is the tack down line. And then we're going to trim the fabric close to the stitch line. And then we're going to trim. Okay, so we'll trim this. So there are quite a few steps to this particular one because there's a lot of little applique pieces, but it's not difficult. Okay, so we're just going to trim up here. And as you can see, this little raw edge right here is going to be in the seam allowance, so you won't see that. And they probably won't even cover it. So let's see here. I'm not sure. I can't see the picture very well. So, all right, so there's our V for violet. Now that was strip 7. And then it says to do the placement line for strip 6. So 6 is going to be our indigo, which would be this kind of lighter blue. So I'll put this one in next, and then we're going to do the tack down for this one. So I'll put this one in, cover that little spot, cover that. And this is step number 4 in the actual design. And then we'll trim this one. Lots of little applique pieces. And this is on page 11 of the instructions, the bottom of page 11, so I'll be turning to page 12 here in a minute. All right, so we're going to trim this one. We don't want to get our rainbow out of order, so we have to think about the order we need it in. Okay, so there's that one. And then let me turn my page to page 12 here. And next probably will be, yes, for strip 5, which is going to be our blue. So put this back in, and we're going to do the placement line for B, for blue. So let me get my blue out here. And then we're going to tack this one down and trim it. Okay, so put this one on here. And trim. We'll tack this one down and then trim this one. So just remember, Roy G. Biv, if you can't remember which way the rainbow goes. I've learned a lot more about color and stuff from making cards, so that was one of the things that they talk about quite often with card making videos and with some of the projects I've done, is the card or the color order. Okay, so there's that one. And then step number 7 will be the placement line for 4, which is going to be the green. And it just happens to be the same color green, but you'll be able to see it because it'll be in satin stitches. So we'll put the green on. Okay. that in there. And do step number 8 of the design. It looks like there's a lot of instructions to this one, but it's just because there's so many appliques. It looks much worse than it actually is. I'm just reading along and it's way easier than I thought it was going to be. Okay. Whoops here. Oh, I'm sorry. I made my machine mad. Okay, so then we're going to trim this one. Okay. This is the bottom of the rainbow because we're going to have the bigger part of it at the top. Okay, and then the next step, oops here, that's not what I wanted to do, there we go. The next step is going to be for the third strip. So this one's going to be for yellow. And so we'll do the placement line for the yellow. Put this other little piece of yellow on. Couldn't decide what color to put these all in, so I thought, well, the white would be fine. I might switch over when we get ready to do, whoops, sorry, when I get ready to do the pot is next, I believe. So I think I'll switch over to my brown for that. Okay, so here's our yellow. And tack it down. And we'll trim it off. This one, we've got a little tail here. There we go. Trim this one off. Okay. And then we're going to be doing the placement line for the orange. So the next one is orange. Put the orange down. And then the last one will be the red. So we'll tack that one down and then we'll do the red. When I looked up and it said it had 40 steps, I'm like, oh my gosh. But it's all these little applique pieces, so it won't be as long as you think. Lucky took quite a while to stitch out because of all the satin stitching. All right, so we'll get the orange trimmed. Okay, there's the orange. All these little tails sticking out here. Okay, and then we're going to do the placement line for the red. And this is step number 13 and 14 we're doing now on page 12. Get ready for the red. And then we're going to move over, then we're going to do the pot of gold. So we're going to do the pot. So I'll put my red on, stitch that down. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my brown, I think, for my pot. Oops, almost lost my green thread here. It's trying to get away from me. There we go. All right, so let's trim this. And then we will do the pot. Okay, got that. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my color now to my pot color, which is a brown. And I think it's sandstone 0297, because that new embroidery leather is kind of a coppery brown color. Put this back in here. We'll do the placement line for the pot. Find my leather here. Here it is. It's way up here. Okay. We're going to stitch the pot placement line. This is number 15 at the top of page 12, and then 16 is the tack down line. And this one's going to be, I believe, no, it is going to be satin stitched. So it is going to be, we're going to trim it, but then it'll be satin stitched. over the edge. Okay, so then we're going to put this down. Like that. And we'll stitch this one down and trim this. This one is also, let me look at the picture here, I think it's also satin stitch. Looks like it. And then it's got some really pretty decorative stitching on the inside. Okay, so then we're going to trim this one. It says trim the leather. Okay, so we'll trim the leather. Maybe if I can get a hold of it, that is. There we go. It's a pretty color leather. This must be a newer color. I haven't seen this one yet. Sometimes we don't get all of the, when we get the samples in, like the, the early arrivals and stuff of the new products, we don't always get everything. We have like an auto ship at the store. So this one I haven't seen yet. Okay, so I think there's going to be enough here for another pot. Get this one trimmed. All right, let's see if there's enough there for another one. Ooh, I think there's just enough. Yep, it's for another pot, so I'll leave that all on there like that. There's enough for another pot. Okay, so there is the pot of gold. So now the next step, what does it say here? The next step is going to be stitch the stripe 1 satin outline. So it's going to be, I think, on our red. So I have to, oh, here it is. My red is not real red, it's kind of a pink. So I picked a pink, it's called Pink Jubilee 0008. So it's kind of a dark, kind of almost hot pink, but not quite. So that's the pink I chose. So that's the color I'm going to use for this stripe. And then the second stripe is going to be, I think, the orange. So we'll do the stripe, and then we'll be ready to come back for the orange. Okay, so we're ready for the stripe 2 outline, which is orange, and this is my 112 orange peel is the color I'm using. And we'll stitch the satin stitch on the orange piece here. And then we'll be ready for yellow. Okay, so my yellow is going to be cream brown, actually, is the name of this one, but it's not a real yellow anyway. So this is 812 cream brown. I've always thought that was a funny name for this. This is one of the older colors of Brother Thread, and I've always thought it was a funny name because it's yellow. It's kind of a muted yellow. It's kind of a corn silk yellow. All right, so we'll do the yellow, and then next we'll be ready for green. Okay, so I've got my fresh green number 027 for my green stripe, and then green, and then we're going to be doing the blue here, and that blue is going to be it's a little bit more on the turquoisey side. Okay, so my blue is number 1050 Pacific Blue. It's a little bit more on the turquoisey blue. And then I think my indigo is going to be this other lighter blue. And that one is next, and that one's going to be this is powder blue, 1211. So we're going to use this little bit lighter blue next. All right, so here's my powder blue. on this one, and then the next one will be the, look at it, oh, the next one's going to be the violet. And my violet is actually called Lilac, and it's 612 Lilac. Okay, so we're on the last strip, and this is going to be the violet, which is mine's light lilac, I think, 612. And it's going to do it's going to cover both sides of this. And then we'll move on to we're going to start stitching some of the stuff for the inside of the pot. And we're going to stitch some fill, which is kind of a darker gray, black color. Okay, so this is step number 24 in the instructions, and it's the inner pot fill. Now, it calls for charcoal, but somewhere along the line, my dark gray has disappeared. So I am just using black because it's a very, very, very dark gray in the picture here. And then we're going to move on to and then we're going to move on to the pot. Some of the decorative fill on the pot here, and then onto the coins. Okay, so we're ready for step number 25, and I put in my 0297 sandstone to do the decorative stitches and the satin outline on the pot. So that will be the decorative stitches first, and then the satin stitches, and then we'll move on to the coins, and those are going to be appliqued with applique glitter. Okay, so the next step, I was wrong. It's actually going to be mylar. So some of the coins are mylar and some are going to be the glitter vinyl. So the next step, which is number 26 of the design, is going to be the placement line for the mylar coins. So I have to get my little piece of mylar here. So it's going to do those, and I'm doing these in brass, which is number 328. And then we're going to lay our mylar down, and then it's going to do the decorative, the tack down lines and the decorative fills on the mylar. And I might actually tape this down. I don't always tape mylar, but this one's a little bit more spread out, so sometimes it's better to tape it if it's a little more spread out. Sometimes it's easy to not catch it all. So I'm going to see if I can find some tape here and take this little piece down, if I can get my tape out of here. Okay, let's see here. Pull this out just a little bit because the coins are right here. So I'm just going to lay the mylar over each of those spots. And I'll just tape it down here on both sides. Trying to conserve my mylar. Oops, and I can just tape my thread down too. There we go. Okay, so I'll just kind of hang on to it on this side. And now it's going to do the decorative fill and the tack down line. So I am going to go ahead and leave the gold in there. And this is step number 27 on the bottom, page 12. Let me get that little thread out of there before it gets sewn in somewhere we don't want it. And then it says, when we go to page 13, remove the tape, tear away the excess mylar. So there we go. So it's going to do those first and then do the little decorative fills for the coins. Make sure this is good. Oops, not wrinkled here. There we go. I think that'll be fine. Okay. So I'll be back when the little decorative fill is done. It takes a minute for the decorative fill to go, and then we will tear off the mylar and continue on with the next step. I believe it's also coins. Let's see. Yeah, so then we're going to be doing, I think, vinyl next. Okay, so we've got this one, the fill's done, and then it's actually going to do a satin outline around these, but we need to remove the excess mylar. So if you kind of pull inward towards the stitching, it comes off more evenly. more cleanly, I should say. There we go. Lay this up here. My cat is helping again, so hopefully she won't eat the Mylar. All right, so we're going to pull the Mylar off. And I'm kind of pulling towards the stitching a little bit. And sometimes I need my little tweezers, but I'm not sure. Maybe I can get that. There's a little spot right there. I can't really get it. It doesn't want to come off. If I can get a hold of it, I just cut my fingernails, so I can't get a hold of anything. All right, let's see. I think there's a little tail. Let's get that out of the way so it won't. Okay, so did I get it all? I think so. Okay, so then the next step is 28, and it's going to do the satin outline around the coins here. And then we're going to go on to, then we'll go on to the glitter. So we'll put this up here, and we'll go ahead, and I'm leaving that brass in there for the coins. And I will be back in a moment when we can do the placement line for the glitter vinyl. Okay, so now it says to place some wash away topping, completely covering the inner pot fill. So I think what they're trying to do is to keep us from, we're going to be doing some sewing along this area, and then there's a spill in here. So I think they're just having us put some water soluble on top just to keep the thread from going down in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tape this down. I had just kind of a little scrap. So I make sure I'm going to tape this down because it may want to scoot on us if we don't. So I am going to tape this down. And I kind of like to make it taut. It's just going to be sewing in this area right in here. So it should be fine, but I want to make sure it's taped down. So my foot won't get caught in there. And the next step, which is number 29 on page 13, is the coins to and rim placement lines. So this is going to be, and I'm going to leave that same color in. We're going to do all the coins and everything with this kind of brass color. And I think this is then going to be our, oops, I got my tape, didn't I? I think we'll be okay. I'll take that tape out of there. And then it's going to do, so this is where the glitter vinyl is going to be. So I'll get my glitter vinyl ready here. It looks like I hit my tape as usual. That's why I don't like to tape, because inevitably I sew through my tape. So, but sometimes with this type of stuff you almost have to. Okay, so I am going to remove this little bit of tape right here. See if I can pull it back. So it's not, I mean, it's not going to be fine, I guess, underneath there, because it's going to be underneath the glitter vinyl. So, okay. So the glitter vinyl, we first, of course, we want to take off our carrier sheet. And then it says to place the coins to and rim glitter right side up. And it's going to be, you can kind of see where this is. Oops, I got a long tail here. We'll get that out of here too. I put a new needle in my machine. It was acting a little weird, so I put a new needle in. I think that helped. Okay, and so it's going to go from here to here. So this area here is going to be where the glitter vinyl is. And you can tape this down too if you want to. I think I'm just going to hold it. I think it'll be fine. Okay, so then this is going to be, step 30 is going to be the tack down line for this. Now this is going to be raw edge applique. It says, yeah, so this is the coins and rim are raw edge applique and will not have additional cover stitches. So these are just going to be trimmed. Held down there nice enough now, and then it's going to do that little rim on the pot. I think that'll look nice. And then I think there's one more layer of coins yet, and they did some of them in the leather, which I thought was cool. Okay, and then we'll trim this in just a moment. Okay, so we've got the glitter tack down, and this is going to be raw edge applique. So just a second here, I've got my tape stuck to the back of it here. And so this we're going to trim, and we're not going to be doing satin stitches on this. So we're just going to trim it as close as we can here. Not positive that that water soluble was necessary. We'll have to see here how that goes. I'm finding it difficult to trim against it. Maybe that's why they put it on there, thinking it was easier to trim. I'm not positive. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this. I'm not trimming right to the line. I'm leaving a little bit of maybe an 1/8, 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch. So that, and I had to go get my glasses because it's very matchy. My brass colored thread and my gold really match here. So you can see me. Maybe I can tip the camera down just a little bit. Let's see here. I'm going to try to get some of this big piece off out of my way. There we go. Now we'll go over here. So this is part of the rim. So they put a gold rim on the pot. That's really pretty. I like that. Now normally we do, we press, our glitter down, but it doesn't say to do it yet. It says to do it later. So we'll go ahead and do as the instructions say here. So then we got to get through here and get this little piece out in here. And try to make your edge look nice because there's not going to be any other satin stitching on there. I'm struggling a little bit getting in between. There's kind of a small area in here. There we go. I think that's why they put the water soluble on, is that you wouldn't catch your scissors on your stitching underneath, maybe. Just to give you a little something to trim against, I think that's why they used it. And it also helped with the stitches not going down into the fill there. But it is being a little bit difficult to get your scissors in there, even these little skinny ones. There we go. I think I got it. Okay, so there's that part. Let's see here. What else do we have to do? There's this little bit up here. And there, I think I got it. Okay, let's see if I got it all now. That one was kind of a hard one to trim. Oh, I don't think I got this inside. There's a little bit in here that needs to come out. In between here. There we go. That. Did I get it? I got a little spot over here that needs to be trimmed. It's very hard to see. It's very matchy. And let's see, there's a little hanging out over here. There we go. I think that's what the water soluble was for. It's just to kind of help you with the trimming so you wouldn't cut your stitches possibly underneath there. Okay, so then the next step, trim the glitter, the coins and rim are a raw edge applique and will not have additional cover stitches. And then the next step 31 is the same color. Stitch the coins 3 placement lines, and that's going to be where the leather is. So I think we're ready for the next layer. Okay, so there's that, and then let me get this back in here and we'll stitch number, oops, I think there's still a little spot that I missed here. This was really hard to see because it's very matching. Let's see if I can get that, there we go. Pretty it up a little bit. Okay, so then the next, that looks better, I believe. Okay, so let's do the next step, which is going to be the placement line for the leather, which is also gold. Okay, so we've got our placement line here. So I have to see if I can see where it is. So it's right, oops. My furry helper is trying to sit on my lap. She doesn't like the hoop over her head. Okay, so they're right in this area. So I think if I just hold it here in this area, I think we'll be okay. So I'll just hold that. Make sure I, whoops. It's very hard to see because the stitches are very close in color. All right, so there was like 3 layers. They kind of did layers of the coins. So I think I can hang on to it here. And then it's going to do, this is step number 32, which is the tack down. And then we'll trim this. And this is also raw edge applique. So they did 3 layers for the coins. And then we can remove all that stuff. I've done several of the St. Patrick's Day Kimberbell items, and they've kind of done their pots of gold and their layers of coins different ways. So this is kind of neat. And I think we're going to put some more Mylar on again. It looks like there's going to be some more of those little stars on the sides over here. So this one had lots of little applique pieces. It wasn't hard, it just had a lot of little pieces. Okay, so we're going to trim this one. All right, let me give this a turn here. My glass is back on so I can see what I'm doing. Boy, these are really close in color too. So this is the applique glitter. Or I'm sorry, this is the embroidery leather. So they did Mylar, embroidery leather, and glitter. So I think that's cool. And I'm trying to keep my scissors kind of tipped upward so that my edge does not show. There's a little bit of white that's going to show if you tip your scissors back. So let's see. I like to try to kind of keep them horizontal so that I don't show that little bit of white, because the back of this one is white. So I'm trying to keep that from showing. And try to make the edge look nice if you can, because it isn't going to have any satin stitches on it. And I don't think I'm going to try to trim in between there. It's awfully small, so I don't think I'm going to trim in between the coins. I think I might just leave them kind of connected together there because they're awfully close. So let's see if we can get this one trimmed. Trying to keep my scissors turned up. Get my little tail out of here. Didn't do a very good job there, did I? Embroidery leather, I've always found it a little difficult to trim. You have to be careful, especially if it's a darker color with the white backing on it. Sometimes it shows that white edge, and I don't like to have that white edge showing if I can help it. But I'm not sure that I can get all the way in here. I'm going to try to get in as best I can to those in between. I think we're going to leave a little bit of that in there. Oops, let's turn this way so I can tip my scissors back. There we go. There. That looks pretty good. Looks like I got a little tail here. Oh, I just had a little jump stitch there. And then I've got down in between about the best I can. I think there's a little spot I might be able to get this down in here just a teeny bit more. Like that. There we go. But I think I'm just going to leave them connected kind of in between there because it's pretty small. So that looks good. So there's our embroidery leather, and then it says, so I trimmed the leather, then it says remove the tape, tear away the excess topping. So let's go ahead and do that. See if we can get that out of there. We might be able to do a little bit trimming, a little bit more trimming on the glitter then, because it might be a little easier to see it without that topping on there. I'm not sure I like that topping, but I'm sure they put it on there to help you with the trimming. Okay, so I think, and then let's see, there's a little spot over here that needs to be trimmed. It's just a little hard to see. There, that looks pretty good. And then I've got a little spot here I didn't do a very good job on. There. It is hard, raw edge applique, you have to kind of be careful that you do a good job trimming. I don't always do the greatest job trimming, so there we go. All right, well, I think we've got our pot of gold. So let's see, what does it say to do next? And then it says, remove the tape, tear away the excess topping. Using a pressing cloth, press the glitter with a warm iron for 15 to 20 seconds. So now we are going to do the pressing. So, sorry, I had to remove my cat from my lap. So if you give me a minute here, I'll tip the camera up so that we can do our pressing. Okay, so I had all my threads sitting over here, so I had to move this so I could use my iron. So I'm going to use my pressing cloth. I've got an old tea towel, and I'm just going to lay that over the top, and then we're going to press where that glitter vinyl is, and just press down with a little pressure for about 15 or 20 seconds. And then we will have it pressed. All right, so there is our pot of gold with the coins. All right, so the next step, give me a moment here, we'll get the camera repositioned. The next step is going to be this is going to be for those little stars with the mylar. So I'm going to go ahead and put my white thread in now. How pretty is that? That's really pretty. I like the pot. The pot is different. I really like it. And I'm going to put the white thread in. And that's what it says in the instructions. So put the white thread in, and then we're going to do placement lines for the mylar. Okay, so now we have to put down our mylar, and I think I can kind of finagle it here, that we can put it, the whole big sheet here that we've been using, on here and get it to cover up all those stars. So if I'm just careful here, I think I can get it on. All right. And I'll just kind of hold it down here, but I think I can get it to cover up both sides at the same time. And then the next step is going to be the fill and the decorative outlines. So that's going to be the next step. And this one over here is going to be pretty close, but I think we'll be okay. If I'm just careful, I'll just hold it a little bit, and then it'll do both sides and do the fills and the decorative outlines. And then we will remove what's left of the mylar. Okay, so we got our little stars done, and then we're going to go ahead and take the tape off, hopefully. I have trouble with this tape. There we go. Let's get it on this side, and then we're going to remove the rest of the mylar. So if we're careful, we'll be able to use this again. So I'm kind of careful with mylar because I like to be able to use as much of it as possible. So I might actually just trim this back a little bit with the scissors so that we don't rip anything we don't want ripped here. So I'm just going to trim this off so I can use this piece again. Little piece right here, and then we'll get this, there we go. So pull this back, and then we can work on this side. And I like to kind of pull in towards the star. Do that. Oh, those are so pretty. So pretty. I haven't done any mylar for a while. I like mylar. It's one of my favorites. There. Okay, so there's those. So there's that side of the stars. Oops, here. That mylar stuck to me now. And then we're going to go over here and we'll get this side. So this side I think we'll be able to go without cutting. And then we'll be able to use this I think later for another project, or maybe to finish this one. So we'll see what happens, because I think I might be able to finish it up with this piece by cutting it a little bit. I don't like to cut all this Mylar, they have you use they gave you like 4 sheets, and I've only used 1. So I think we can hopefully we can get the whole thing out of that one. All right, so get the little bits out of there. Sometimes I have to go get my tweezers, so that helps a lot if you have a little trouble getting it out. There we go. All right. So there is this block, and then the next, oh, we have one more step. There is a little trimming guide. So the last step is a little trimming guide. I don't know that we really need it, but it is going to help us with centering, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch out the last step, and it's that little trimming guide. And I think it's just going to give us like a little centering, yeah, a little tick that's a little centering line to help us with the center. All right. So there is the pot of gold with it's very pretty. I like that. So now we're going to move on, and I'm going to reset a little bit here, and we'll do the rainbow, and then we'll have all 4 of our blocks done. Okay, so we're ready for the rainbow block. This is our last block, and this one's going to be mostly applique to do the rainbow pieces. So we'll have to get our Roy G. Biv order going again here. And then if you give me a second, we're going to go ahead and get the design up. And again, this one's going to be long again because it's a 4 by 12. So I have my 9.5 by 14 hoop in. So we're going to go ahead and get our quilting design first. Get that one first. And that is going to be St. Pat's 5, the 4 by 12. So let me get to the background quilting, St. Pat's 5, embroidery files, and then we're going to get our 4 by 12. So that's that one that's going to have that pretty rainbows and stuff on it again. And then we're going to get the design, and this one, I'm going to hit add down here, and we're going to get the design, which is mini quilts, embroidery files, and March. So this is going to be the rainbow. So here's our rainbow. It's 8 by 12. And then those come in centered as well. So it looks like everything's centered where we want it. And I think we're ready to go. So we're going to hit set, and we're going to start with our quilting as usual. So I'm going to go ahead and hit embroidery. Now I have that light blue color in the needle that matches my background fabric here is this kind of light blue, but I have a light blue that I could use, but I think this might be a little too, well, maybe not. That might be a little strong on there. I was going to use this other lighter blue, so maybe let's try that. I'll put my foot up here. See, I think I'll maybe try this lighter blue. Not sure. I think this one actually matches better though, so maybe I will use this one. This is the one I had used with it before, so maybe we'll try that one and see what it looks like. Because it's the sky, so I want it to be a little more sky colored instead of greenish blue colored. So we'll use that one. And this is this is called Pacific Blue. No, yeah. Powder blue, sorry, powder blue. The other one's Pacific Blue. All right, so we'll put that in to do our quilting, and we'll start with our batting as usual, and then we'll talk about the order for the rainbow here in a minute again. So we got to get our quilting done. I've got my no-show mesh in the hoop already, and this is my 9.5 by 14 since it's 12.5 inches long. So we're going to go ahead and do our quilting. So the first step of the quilting is always the batting placement line. So I have my batting chunk ready here. I had to get a different chunk because it was too small. The old one I'd been using was too small to do this because it's pretty long. My cat is wanting to sit on my lap, so if you're hearing a cat, she's out over here trying to get to my lap, so she's not very happy with me. It's time for mommy to stop working for the day, I think. All right, so there is our placement line for our batting. I'm going to put the batting over. Make sure I get it all covered up here. Okay, and then we're going to do the tack down, which is always our second step to the quilting part. I know. A second, I have to get her down so she won't get knocked over by the by the embroidery arm. Sometimes she just sits there and she just lets herself be knocked on the floor by the embroidery arm. All right. So we're going to do our tack down. Then we'll go around that twice. So I think this is the same color as I used in, yeah, this is the same color that I used in my rainbow. So it should be, the color I chose I think should be okay for the quilting. Might show just a little bit more, but it's the same color family. It's just a little darker, the thread. This one here. So this video is going to be just a little longer. I apologize. I'm trying to keep them around an hour, but this one has quite a few steps in it too, because there's quite a lot of applique in it. Again, so we'll have to do the applique. So I'm going to trim my batting now, close to the stitches. So that's the next step, and then we'll do the fabric placement line. Get this all trim. You probably can't see me. I got this big long hoop in here. All right. Again, I'm using Hobbs 80/20 batting. I like it because it just gives a little bit of loft. And when you go to do the quilting, then I think the quilting shows pretty on, you know, a little bit more, and it's really pretty on it than the flatter project battings. And it's not hard. It's a very soft batting, but it just gives just a teeny little bit of loft because it has some polyester in it instead of all cotton. All right. So then I'm going to do step number 3 of the quilting to do the placement line for the batting, or sorry, for the fabric. Okay, so we got our placement line for the fabric here, and I'm going to go ahead and try to see if I can get this one a little bit more centered. I struggled a little bit with the other big one here, so let's see. You get this one, and this one does, this is my backing, so I do have my shape flex on the back here too. All right, so then we're going to tack this down, so that's step number 4 of the quilting, and then we will quilt the background. I'm trying to get it straightened out. I've got a little bit of a lump in the middle, but it should quilt out okay. So this one had quite a little bit of applique in the last 2 blocks, but I thought about doing 3 blocks in one, but then it would have been too long, so I figured we could do it this way, and one of the videos would be a bit longer. Okay, so step number 5 for the quilting is the actual quilting. So we'll get the quilting done, and then we'll move on to the rainbow appliques. Okay, so now we're ready. We got all of our quilting done, and I think I like the blue that I chose. I think it will be fine. And so then the next steps are going to be the rainbow applique pieces. So what we want to do is make sure that we have all of our pieces in our Roy G. Biv order. So red, okay, orange, yellow, green, and then blue, and indigo, which is another type kind of blue, and then violet is at the end. Okay, so what I did is I went ahead and put in my white thread for the placement lines. So we're going to do the first one together, and then what I think I'll do is I will turn the camera off to keep the video from being quite so long, and all of the pieces that we do next will be, whoops, nothing caught here, so I may have to, let me go back here. Start this one again because it didn't catch right away. So I went ahead and put white thread in as a neutral thread to do the quilting. So let's go back. There we go. And I'll put, so they're going to have the placement line for your color, and then you're going to lay your color down, and then you're going to put the applique trim the applique fabric close to the stitches on all of these. So I think what I'll do is I'll do the first one with you, and then I will continue working with the other ones, and I put my colors in the order of Roy G. Biv for our rainbow, and then we will come back and do the final bits of it together. So I'm going to go ahead and lay my red, so that's where and it says trim the fabric close to the stitches, so we're going to go ahead and cover this up. Should we have the whole thing covered? This first part is pretty big. All right, so then it's going to do the tack down line. Okay. And again, I'm just going to leave my white in for all of the appliquing, because we're going to do all of that first. And then we're going to do the, let's see, then it's going to do all the stripes, you know, it's going to do all the outlines. And then we're going to go back, and there's a little bit of Mylar on this one too, so we'll do that together. But I thought I'm going to go ahead and just do this first one with you, and then I will turn the camera off and do the other stripes, and I'm sure that you will be able to follow along. These instructions are pretty detailed for all of these stripes here. And there we go. And then we're going to trim this close to the stitches. So it'll be the same pattern as we did with the little short ones that we did on the pot of gold block, in the same order. All right, so we'll do trimming close to the stitches all the way around. But just remember, red, orange, yellow, and then green, G, and then blue, indigo, and violet for your colors. And just put them in the order you need them in. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim. Whoops, got a little bit more on this side to do. All right. And then the next step will be the placement line for the orange. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on with this part, turn the camera off while I do this little bit, and then we will come back and start doing the satin stitching. Oops, here. Have to get my little flipper down before I hit the button though, Jan. All right, so here's the second one. It's going to do the placement line for the orange ring. And when I come back, I'll have all of my little rainbow design, or my rainbow colors on, and then we will move on to the satin stitching. Okay, so I've completed my applique. So this is steps number 1 through 14 on pages 15 and 16 of the instructions. And this is all the applique little strips of my rainbow. Okay, so steps number 15 through 21 are going to be the satin stitching on each of the strips. So we're going to be, again, we're going to be using our Roy G. Biv. So I'm going to have my red, which is my 0008 Pink Jubilee, and then my orange peel 0112, and then my 812 Cream Brown for my yellow, and then the G is going to be my fresh green 027, and then my blue is my Pacific Blue 1050. I think it's 1050 or 1058. Let me look at the number here a little closer. 1050. And then my indigo is going to be my powder blue 1211. And then my violet is going to be my lilac 612. Okay, so that's the next 7 steps, is just going to be doing the satin stitches for each one of these. And I have my colors in order of my strips, so it's going to be doing this top line all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with that, and then again we'll stop the video I will pause the video, I should say, while I am doing all of the satin stitching. I did all of the applique with the white, and now we're ready to do the satin stitches. So we'll start with the red, which is my 0008. And then I will continue through my violet. So get your colors out and lay them in your rainbow order, and then away you will be going for all the satin stitching. And then we'll come back together and we will do the mylar together. So I think this, oh, I'm sorry. We're doing them in reverse order. That is my fault. We're doing them in reverse order. Let me look again. So the first one is strip 7. So they did them in reverse order. So in other words, we need to start with our violet first. So mine's going to be the lilac 612. I apologize for that. Didn't look close enough. So it's doing it in reverse order. So it's doing the smallest one first and then going out to the biggest one. So we're going to be doing them in reverse order. So here is the lilac. So this is the first step. And so continue on. Then you'll do your indigo and your blue and your green, yellow, orange, and red on the outside. So I'll come back when I am done with my satin stitching. And I'm sure everyone is doing a wonderful job of doing their applique and their satin stitching. And then we will come together and we will do the mylar together. Okay, so I've got all my satin stitches on my rainbow, and again, they were done in reverse order. I do apologize that I when I was looking at the numbers 15 through 21, my 15 and my 21, the colors looked very close on the little color chips. So anyway, that was done from inside to outside, and now we're ready to do our mylar star placement lines. So give me just a moment. I put in white thread. Oh, goodness sakes. Then, see, did you hear that little clicking sound? I have a very tight hoop here. This hoop has been very tight for a long time. And did you hear the clicking sound that it made over here? So that means that my arm is now off. So what I'm going to do is I'll just show you how I'm going to fix it. I'm going to turn my machine off. I've had my hoop out of the machine. Took my hoop out. And I'm going to turn the machine off. I did not do anything with the design. I just left it right where it was. I'm just going to turn the machine back on again, and that will realign the arm. So that does happen sometimes. And I've noticed, I've had people ask me about their hoops, and I have a couple of hoops that are a little on the tight side. So I need to clean this again. And how I take care of that is I clean my, and it's going to ask me down here, is it okay to recall and resume? So yes, okay. So it's going to go back to where I was, which is our star placement lines. So now I'm going to be very careful when I push this in. I do need to clean my hoops. So what happens is if you clean that little receiver part a little bit with it helps it go in and out. I need to just clean it again because they get a little dirty. And then, but you don't want to put anything on it because remember there's sensors in here. So be very careful. I clean it with just like water, and I usually use my Norwex cloth, and it really takes the grime off of that little receiver. So I'm going to do that again because this one's getting pretty tight again. Okay, so the next step then is step number 22 in the instructions, and this is going to be the placement lines for our stars. So there's a whole bunch of stars. So we may have to do some taping of bits and pieces of our mylar. So there's a whole bunch of them. So we'll have to see how we can tape it down when we get them going here. I'm trying to conserve my mylar as much as possible. So we'll be able to see the placement lines and then decide if we want to do it in several pieces. I think we'll be able to do it that way so that we can conserve, but there's a whole bunch of stars on this one. So I'll come back when this is all done all of our placement lines, and then we'll figure out how we're going to put our mylar on. Okay, so I've got all of these placement lines on here, and it tells you in the instructions to place 2 stars Mylar pieces covering the placement lines as shown. So there's a lot of stars on here. So I'm looking at that piece that I've been using, you know, and I've been trying to be very careful with it. And I think I can use this piece over here. There's actually a little star right here down on the rainbow that it will cover that. So I think, and then there's a little hole right here, but the star is up here. So I think I can use this one to cover this half. So I'm going to go ahead and tape that down. Oh, I got to find my tape here. So let's tape this one down. Try not to tape the thread down as well. Okay, so I'm going to put some tape over here. Okay, and then this one, there's a little star. That's the first one on this side. So I think maybe just get a little bit of this out of here. Then I think maybe we can put another one, because they gave you 4 pieces of Mylar, and I was trying to get it so that I only needed to use like half of it, because then I could make another one of these. So let's see, let's do a little taping here. Let's do a little taping here. All right, so I got that half, and then the other one is right here. And I'm going to put the second piece down, and let's see, let's kind of go to the top here, and then we'll be able to use this again for something else. So I think kind of got it like this, and then we'll tape this one down. So that way we did have to use 2 pieces because there is quite a lot to use for the Mylar on this one. And then I can use this piece for something else. I am going to put some tape down through. I think it'll be okay there, because there's a thing there's one star right there, but I think it'll be all right. Okay, we'll just kind of watch everything. But I think this piece, even though it had holes in it, I think I was able to get it, you know, pushed one side or the other so that I could use it. And then I didn't have to waste all of that. So it's going to start where it ended to do the to do the tack down lines. So I'm just going to kind of watch everything. So it's going to do the little fills and the tack down lines. But you're going to want to watch this even though it's taped, because I do have some little holes. You don't want your foot to get caught. So I am going to kind of watch it careful. And it's doing this half first. I think I've got enough I need a little tape maybe up here. There's just a little piece. There's a little spot right there. I think maybe it needs a little tape because there's a little star right there. There we go. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this stitch out, and it's going to do our little fills and the outlines, and then I'll come back when it's done and we'll remove our Mylar and do our trimming on our blocks. Okay, so I've got those all stitched out, and that worked out fine. I've got a nice big piece of extra Mylar here, so I'm just going to be real careful and pull this out here. Sometimes I have a little trouble getting it started. There we go. Okay, got a little piece of Mylar in there you can pull out. Okay, and then I like to, like I said, I like to kind of pull carefully in toward the stitching. That seems to do the best for me when it comes to removing the Mylar. So I'm going to, get rid of some more tape here. So I have a nice big piece here that I can still use for something else. I think the embellishments are kind of the more expensive part of these little designs, and so I like to try to conserve them as much as possible. So that's why I don't cut them to the sizes they say, because you waste so much of these embellishments. So I like to use these. And so see this piece, I could use that for another whole block. Okay, whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to bump the camera. So I'm going to got a couple little pieces in there that are stuck. Oh, those stars are cute. I really like the Mylar. I forgot that I didn't realize they were going to do Mylar too. All right, so I'm going to put this up here, get this out of the way, and then let's work on this top one here. Looks like I got a little tail. Get that out of it. This is the one that we had been using, so there's quite a little bit of that used, but there's still some left that we could use. It's amazing how much you can get out of these pieces because they're like 6 by 6 roughly. And whoops, decided that my hand wanted to cancel my design, so no, I don't want to do that. We have one more step to do. Okay, I'm going to pull these out, and again, just remove it, and I kind of pull, if you kind of pull in towards the stitching, it works the best. Okay, and again, if you need some tweezers, little tweezers help a lot to get out the little pieces if you can't quite get them. Usually I can do pretty well. I can get a hold of them. It does help if you have some nails. All right, let's see. Okay, there we go. Just about got this. Let me get this out of the way. And then I got a little bit of pieces in here. So I may have to get my tweezers out for that, or I might be able to get my scissors up here and get a hold of that little piece in the center there. There we go. All right. Oh my gosh, those are so cute. I'm going to see if I can get rid of that little tail. I think I got a little tail on this one too. Sometimes those little tails want to catch. There we go. All right. So there's the stars. Aren't those cute? And then the last step on this is going to be a trimming guide again. Actually, the last step, it says we don't sew out. This is a trimming guide. It's going to give us a little tick in for the center. So I'm just going to leave my white thread in, and I'm going to stitch out. This is number 24 in the instructions. And it's just going to help us with knowing where the center is. So when we go to do the trimming. And then the last step, it says do not do this one because it's just a placement line to hold it in place. So we're done. So there is the rainbow. Let me see if I can get it out. So here's the rainbow block and all those beautiful stars. I can't wait to put this together. It's so cute. So I'm going to go ahead and reset up so that I can show you the trimming, and then we will be done with the 4 blocks. Okay, so we're ready to trim our blocks. So I'm going to go back to the pot of gold block first here, and it says to trim the block to 8.5 by 4.5. So we're going to have to use, this is kind of a specialty trimming again. We're going to be using 2 rulers. I've got my rectangular rulers here, and you need the 6.5 by 8.5 and the 4.5 by 6.5. So we're going to put them inside each other. And we have that little tick mark down here, and I don't know if you can see it too well. Let me get a little marking pen so you can see it. This little tick mark right here, I'll put a little blue ink on it. Maybe you can see it a little bit better here. And we are going, it says use the tick mark in the trimming guide to center the design horizontally with the end of the rainbow against the inner top edge of the small ruler. Okay. So we're going to do, let's get this laid in here. So this is the one we're doing. And I don't know if you can see it on here, but the rulers do actually have an arrow that shows the center of it. So we're going to lay that arrow on the, where that little tick mark is. Okay. And then cut the top and bottom. So what we did, this is horizontal with the end of the rainbow against the inner top edge. Okay. So the inner, the rainbow, they're talking about the rainbow being along here. But of course, since we did the quilting, there is some lines here that are the tack down lines, and that's basically where we're going to be trimming. So that helps us. But the little mark here, and it's very hard to see, it's a little arrow, is going to be on this line to center it. And then the top of our rainbow here is going to be at the top of the ruler. And that's what it said. So we're going to put that one on, and then we're going to put the bigger one in too. Get them all both in here together. Okay. And then it says to cut the top and bottom edges of the block. Do not cut the left and right edges. So we're going to turn this way. And we're going to cut the top and the bottom right here. So I'm going to start in a little bit, pull back into the corner, and push forward on that side. And I've got my Martelli mat here. And I'll link all these little tools that I'm using in the video descriptions so you can find these. I'm going to start in a little bit, pull back, and push forward. Okay, and I had my little arrow right here on the little tick mark. All right, and then it says, let's see. Okay, and then I think, oh, I need to turn my page here. So let me turn the page. Then it says remove the 4.5 by 6.5 inch ruler. So I'm going to remove that ruler, the little one, and then we're going to cut along the left and the right edges because that's where the ends are going to be. So it's going to be 8.5 inches long. So I'm going to cut the two ends like that. And then we just need to take this ruler off and finish up these little ends. I may have to get my other ruler. Maybe I can do it though. I always have a little trouble with the orange ones. For some reason I can't see very well to get them lined up. So we're going to finish those top and bottom edges. A second here, we'll turn this over. Get this little edge on the bottom. Okay, let's see if I can do that. I didn't grab my other ruler. It's easier to see through the yellow one than this orange one. Okay, so there, did I get it? I think so. Whoops, I got a little spot right here that didn't cut. There we go. All right, so there is our pot of gold, and it is 4.5 by 8.5. So isn't that cool? There's our pot of gold. So there's the first block. And then the second block is going to be also kind of a specialty cutting, just like we did the first one. So let's go back to the rainbow here. The rainbow cutting, whoops, here it is going to be 4.5 by 12.5 again. So we're going to use all of our rulers. And I'll mark this little tick mark to help us again with the centering. So that little mark that it made, I'll make it in the blue so we can see it just a little bit better. So these are, we're going to nest all of our blocks together, or all of our pop rulers together. So we're going to put the 4.5 inch one again. There's a little tiny, I don't know if you can see it, a little tiny arrow here. I'm going to put that right on that little tick mark to help us find the center. And get it lined up. And this one says, use the tick mark in the trimming guide shown in blue to center the design horizontally with the bottom edge of the rainbow against the inner bottom edge. So in other words, our little bottom edge right here, that's what it's talking about. So we're going to get that in our basting line from our quilting is really going to help here. Okay, and then I'm going to put the second one in and the third one. So we're going to put all three of these in here like this. Make sure we got it centered where we want it. Right on, and I can really see the little arrows. It's probably very hard on the camera to see them. Okay, and then we're going to trim in here to do the inside, but don't trim the edges, just trim on the top and the bottom. So we're going to turn it this way. Carefully turn it this way. Make sure I'm lined up here. I need to come down just a little bit. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to trim the top. Don't trim the sides, and I'm going to turn it over and trim the bottom. Okay. I'm still lined up here. When you got all the rulers in there, sometimes they like to scoot just a little bit. Okay, so there's the bottom. And then we're going to trim the ends. So the ends are just like we did on the other one. We're going to trim the two ends with the outside of the largest ruler because it's 12.5 inches. Okay. Must have missed a spot right there. There we go. Okay. Then I'm going to take these all out. And we need to connect the dots again. So we need to connect from here to here. I'm going to grab that other ruler to do that because I can see a little better. So then we're going to connect our edges here and here. Pull it over a little. And then I'm going to trim the top and the bottom and finish this off. There we go. There we go. Oops, I missed a little bit. There we go. And then let's turn it over this way so it's a little easier for me. These long ones are always harder to trim on this mat. It's not quite big enough. Now, if you have one of these rotating mats, oh my gosh, it's so much easier for this kind of stuff. But sometimes for me, it's just easier if I'm trimming on the top. So I just turn it over so I can trim on the top. Okay, there's that side and this side. And the rainbow. So then we'll have our rainbow on the top. And then we have Lucky underneath that. So that goes underneath. So here's our other blocks. And then we'll have the little shamrock over here. And we'll have our pot of gold over here. So they will be a little bit, you know, like that. So there's a seam in there, so like that. Okay, so there is going to be our little March mini quilt. I'm so excited to get this one put together. So in the next video, we will go ahead and we will assemble this, make our sleeve for the back, and do the binding. So thank you so much for joining me for the mini quilts, the Kimberbell mini quilt for March. And please, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate it. So I'll see you in the next video for the assembly. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.